Today on Broadscast, she is the most badass woman on reality television. Jessie Graff from American Ninja Warrior is in the house.
Broad topics, broad minds, broad hosts, but not just for broads. This is Broadscast with Kim Goldman and Jackie McDougall.
Welcome to Broadscast. Hello, Kim.
Hello, Jackie.
Or should I call you Correspondent Kim? Do I have to salute you or
Yes.
do a little curtsy when you come in now?
You do, indeedy. Yeah, you need to get me a bowl of M&Ms. I don't want to say
blue.
Skittles because that's being referred to as Syrian refugees or some craziness like that. So I'm not going to say Skittles. There's a Trump thing. You don't know about the Trump thing? The Skittles? It's terrible. We're not going to talk about it.
Okay. So, but why don't you tell everybody what's going on with you, your big news?
Oh my gosh. My big news is I have been invited to join the legal sleuths of Crime Watch Daily as a special correspondent. So I get to tell stories from victims and survivors' points of view and to kind of dig into stories about injustice and all the stuff that I love to do in my sleep. I get to do that now and it's awesome. I'm a little excited. I'm a little nervous. Feel a little embarrassed, but
why? Let's talk about that real quick because we have Jessie in the studio, and so we needed to get to her in a few minutes. I am stopping because I want to know, why do you feel embarrassed?
You know what? Because seeing yourself on camera, I'm laughing. My kid points out all my weirdness and my resting face and the fact that I always look like I'm a deer in headlights. I don't know what to do with my hands. I don't know, and it's. I'm not a vain person, but doing this, it forces you to kind of do that. And I'm learning how to adjust. But if I stay focused and I stay authentic and compassionate and dedicated to my stories, who gives a crap what I look like, right?
So, but, it's nothing a little media training can't help.
Exactly.
That's why they have those people. So,
yeah,
but I'm
I should
very,
learn that
very...
from Jessie. Yeah, I should learn. She's pretty awesome on camera. So
I know, right? So we'll have to get her tips. So, and before we go, so, I mean, you listen to or watch, I should say, I'm talking listen to here. You watch American Ninja Warrior with your son. I watch it in my house. We are crazy. You and I would tweet each other and text each other how exciting it was. The idea that we have Jessie, in the house today is I'm a little starstruck.
You are so funny. You're I'm geeking out. So
I'm fangirling.
Weirded out by us.
I know, we are so weird. But it's so funny because I'll watch the show with my kids, and then one day we're at the store and they forced me to buy Palm Wonderful because if you watch Ninja Warrior, it's all over the place, everything, the towels and the background and everything, which is they do some really brilliant branding there. But my kids, so I put a picture on Instagram a couple weeks ago of my kids drinking Palm Wonderful as they watch American Ninja Warrior. If you think advertising doesn't work, I mean, come on.
Yeah, you should start making your kids do tricks for it. Climb walls. Well, actually, maybe not climb walls, but trees.
Yeah,
and
I gotta give them the warped
gymnastics.
Wall.
Yeah, you should do that.
But enough about us. Let's get to why everybody is tuning in.
Welcome to our show. Welcome, Jessie's in the house. And we don't want to forget Sammo the pig.
Sammo the hog.
The hog. Is it a hog or a pig? Is there a difference?
You know what? I still don't actually know if there's a difference, but her name is Sammo Hog. It's more like
Sammo Hog. Okay.
So, yeah, this is, we're breaking boundaries down here because we've never had a pig in the house.
Well, yeah.
Kim's that's debatable.
Yeah. But what a fun day. And thank you for coming to the studio and indulging some of your biggest fans this morning before we schlepped them off to school.
They were adorable.
So right before we came on, we were talking about cussing because we wanted to warn you that there's no swearing on our show. No, but I think it's interesting. You brought up a point about how you don't want to start habits because you don't cuss and you don't want to start habits that you don't want to continue.
Yeah, I apply that to food and cursing and everything. It's kind of if I don't want to be doing something all the time or in excess, then why start on that habit? I don't really want to have to think about filtering myself on, you know, certain networks or around kids.
Right.
It's much easier to just not have the habit of saying things that are considered inappropriate.
I mean, clearly you're a disciplined human being. So for you to have that force. Well, Kim, and we're also have some videos. So you have to kind of scoot your chair over closer.
I know.
I can scoot up.
We're good. We're adjusting.
Kim's not a big video fan.
Yeah, I don't love the video.
Which is funny. But anyway. So,
but you said that you used badass on a radio and that you felt like uncomfortable, but that's what we've been calling you. Like, we're broads kicking ass around here. I'm just going to keep saying ass.
I mean, like, you're not supposed to say that in front of kids, right?
Right.
Like, they'll say that's a bad word, so I try not to say it in front of kids. But it's definitely the type of role I'm going out for in acting. And so I was just trying to describe, like,
Bad tush just doesn't really have the same.
well, I mean, and that's the thing is if you're auditioning for these roles and clearly with the skills that you have, I have a feeling the woman's not like a librarian or, you know, the people that the characters you're going out for. So they're probably a little bit more tough.
Right. It's the type of language that I need to be comfortable with. So I've been practicing so that it sounds more natural in acting class and everything. But it's definitely not a habit that I want to have.
Yeah.
Well, if you're just joining us, Jessie Graff, who is known to all of America on American Ninja Warrior. So,
Yes.
I mean,
the only woman to ever complete stage 1 in Las Vegas at the finals. Like
we were rooting.
Seriously, like separately, we watched the show with our, you know, she with her son and with my family, and I mean, we will laugh, we will cry, we will scream. My middle son will literally cry when he's like gets invested in a person.
I do too.
I mean, they do a brilliant job creating characters and creating people that you care about. But I don't think anybody is more cared about than you on that show. I mean, you have. And I know that you've been doing this for more than one season, but this season in particular, you have like really flipped the image of what women are and what women can be and what, I mean, for all, especially in reality shows, right? So we look at reality shows and, you know, no offense to the shows that you may watch, but like, or other people watch, but people are trying to get the guy or they're, you know, famous for doing nothing. And you're out there like not giving up and putting yourself out there. And it's just, I'm in awe, and I love that you're a role model for my own daughter who's 9. And how have you handled that reaction?
Well, I want to go back to something you just said about, I think when I was in middle school, my mom, I think she read me an article or was telling me something about how around that age in middle school, a lot of girls get really interested in makeup and pursuing boyfriends and trying to impress the boys and lose themselves in that pursuit and start defining themselves by who they're dating. And it sounded like such a horrifying thing to me. And I wanted to make sure that I was always defined by who I am and what I do and what I think and believe and the actions I take. And I have always been very firm about like, I am me regardless of who I'm dating or what relationship I'm in or anything like that, or how I look or how I dress. It's what I do and think and say.
Where did you get that? I mean, I think that it takes a certain person to have that kind of insight at such a young age. Were there other role models besides, you know, your family or your mom that you thought, oh, I want to be just like her or him, but want to be the girl version of him?
Jackie Chan.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Xena, Buffy. But right after my mom told me that story, or maybe this happened before that, but I had this best friend who was 2 years older than me, and I just thought she was the coolest person in the world. She could catch frogs and fish with a bucket, and we would climb trees together, and she just taught me everything. And this one summer we got together, and all she wanted to do was lay on the dock, read this fashion magazine, and get a tan. And I didn't understand what had happened. And I asked both of our parents, I was like, what's wrong? And they were like, well, she's a teenager.
Puberty.
What happened? And I was like, never. and she grew out of it, and she's a super cool person. And like,
Right.
But it was just something that I witnessed, such a dramatic shift of being like passionate about outside and doing things and adventures to trying to fit inside this box. And so it's something that I was always conscious of.
Do you think that is harder for women than it is for men?
What, like staying true to yourself?
Well, yeah. I mean, no, just being committed to what you're saying in terms of getting outside of the box and like focusing on your inner stuff as opposed to the outside stuff. I feel like men, I think it's harder. I guess I'm answering my own question. I think it's harder for women to stand alone in that regard or stand aside from the pack because there is such a push to be all about beauty. I mean, we talked about that a lot on our show, like how to incorporate those things, but also like to listen to that inside voice that is probably a little unique compared to other people that you were growing up with. So I wonder if that's an easier thing for, I don't know, men seem to, I
think there's less pressure on them to focus on how they look, probably.
Yeah.
So they just do what they want.
But I think too, growing up, and maybe your mom was very different, but growing up, it's like we're society's telling boys all the time, like, what do you want to be? What do you want to do? And like with girls, it's. I mean, even my daughter's homework last night, right? She brought it home, and it was compound sentences, and so she had to decide whether to put and or but in there. So but. Benign, and it was all about this princess who didn't want to get married, but there were all these suitors, and her father would lock her in a room, and I mean it was like a princess story. What? Yeah, and finally there was a man who made her laugh, and she got married, and I'm like, and I mean you met my daughter this morning. She's not. She's like, what is this? Like it's ridiculous.
When does she go out and save the day?
Yeah. Why does she need that prince? And I get it. There are a lot of girls out there, and I don't discount that because there are a lot of girls out there who love that fantasy stuff, and we should all be exactly who we are. But it's just interesting how that's pushed more.
But you stand out more as someone who shows up to, the competition in your superhero. Like there, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but like there was such a draw to you. And I think that you did kind of embody that whole superhero, save the day, conquer the world thing. And I think that's what people resonated with because you weren't just out there with your crazy hair and like doing antics. You were really like,
there was no corn dog in your
but but I mean, I think that's part of it that like we looked at you and we're like, God, I can do that based on watching you. There's a relatability, and there's a part of it's like, oh, if I just dedicate myself and be a different human on the inside because I can't even walk upstairs. But like there was something relatable that wasn't just a showy thing. Like I watched you and I thought that's who she is. Like I got that. I mean,
you were sending the message, and even though you say it publicly, but you were sending the message without saying a word that we as women can be our own heroes.
Absolutely.
And you were up there and you weren't like filled with excuses. You weren't like, but I'm a girl. I shouldn't have to do what the guy, like you were just like, you showed up and you kicked the guys' butts. I mean, how do they react to that?
They're so supportive. I mean, they've been like helping and coaching me from the beginning because we all want to see each other do well.
Is that real? Because I will
real.
cry. And I know obviously like my husband's an editor, so I know that someone may shoot their, them going through the obstacles and then they're not necessarily coming up 30 seconds later to watch the next person. Like I know that they probably have to reset or whatever, but like for people to go through such disappointment and when they fall or they don't succeed and then to be up there cheering and clapping for that next person, like that's amazing to me.
Yeah, I think we all relate so much. Like the obstacles are such a daunting foe, it's tricky. It's not like there are challenges, and a lot of people watch the show and assume that it is this type of challenge where it is testing your strength and speed. And if you are strong and fast, you will get through it. But if you are the strongest and fastest person and you analyze something just a little bit off, if your angle is a little off, if you don't understand like what side of the rope to jump to, you're going to be swinging back and forth, just all these little details. And then other things where if it were weighted just slightly differently, your technique would be perfect, but you don't know how it's weighted because you haven't touched it before. And so you have to look at this balance agility thing, go full speed, hope your calculations are right. And if they're slightly off, the whole thing's over, and everything you've trained for the past year, 2 years, 6 years is gone until next season. And hopefully you get on next season and they like your story again. And it's just having a competition where you're testing your abilities, but also there's so much chance involved, I think puts us all on the same team together of wanting all of us as a group to get through it.
How do you mentally prepare for that? Because I'm sitting there like I'm freaking out for you right now. Like I mean,
terrifying.
because I think that you're even just your heart rate escalating could throw you off. I mean,
and I do everything. People will ask me the day before, 6 hours before, like, oh, are you ready? And I'm like, no, we're not even talking about this yet. Like, I'm in denial until like 15, 20 minutes before I go, because I have very overactive adrenaline. And if I get that pumped up the day before, my stores are running out and I know I need every little bit of it. So you have to manage that. You have to know how to manage that. You have to understand that about yourself. And I think I've been in enough situations where I'm dealing with adrenaline that I understand that better than most people do.
Do you have like a mantra or like a ritual or something that you do to just calm your nerves like the second before you?
Basically, it's just if you think about how many details there are about how to do the technique of every obstacle, there's no space for nerves. So if I'm feeling nervous, I'm like, what are you forgetting? Oh. So it's very simple. In any situation where you're afraid, you have to break down, am I afraid because this is unsafe, or am I afraid because I haven't thought this through all the way? And figure it out. What are you missing? Have you not missed anything? Okay, well then just focus on the things that you already analyzed.
Right. And you never touch the course before you get on it.
Yeah, we are not allowed.
We discuss those things in my house, where it's like, I wonder if they get a run through or they like are able to kind of check things out.
That was one of my favorite comments on the YouTube video. Someone was like, well, I wonder how many times she ran through that stage 1 course before she did it perfectly for camera. And I was like, well, thank you so much.
Yeah, you gotta, I'm sure you don't get as many trolls as some people, but they're all out there. They just have to be disregarded.
That's funny. Yeah. Cause I can barely keep up with the comments on my own social media, and on my Facebook page mostly people are very complimentary, and I don't think I'm getting any negative comments. But someone was asking me if they could do an article on how like all these people are attacking me, and I was like, what people?
Where are they?
Kidding me?
And so I checked out the YouTube thing, and that's where I found that comment, and people were like, well, that course looks way easier than the other ones. And I'm like, again, thank you.
Says the out of shape guy on the couch, watching with a bag of chips.
So one of the things that we talk about a lot on Broadscast is that how what we're learning later in our life, because I think we're a little older than you,
a little bit, a lot older,
is the concept of women, building each other up and really championing. And sometimes I see it as I get older, I see it less, I think, but I am seeking out people that are supportive and encouraging. There seems to be such camaraderie amongst the women on the show. Is that legit? Like, do you guys band together and how do you, does that give you strength?
How do you get competitive without like getting on opposite sides?
Yeah.
I really try not to get competitive. I try to keep it, and I've done this since high school, I think. It's one of my college coaches told me that your goals should always be focused only on things you can control. I can't control if I'm the top woman this year. I can't control if I go faster than everyone else. I can only control if I go my fastest. Right. I can only control if I've done enough pull-ups and like manage my workouts well enough that I am at the strongest I can possibly be at the end of the year. So I keep everything focused on that. And I learned this lesson in stunts too, like, because, we're auditioning against each other. We're going somewhere. I'm in a room with 5 other women who are my height, have the same hair color, same build, and we're going out for the same jobs. And a lot of people, especially in acting, I think, get very competitive about that. And I learned so much that when we train together and I do a workout with, the girl I'm going to be competing against, and I help her with her handstands and she helps me with my kicks, and we trade back and forth, she's going to, if she's busy for a job that she gets, she's going to recommend me because she knows my abilities and she knows she can trust me to, like, when we recommend someone, we have to recommend someone good, or else the stunt coordinator is going to be like, oh, she's going to lie to me and think it's like a bad.
Exactly.
So the more we bond with each other, the better we all get. And again, my goals are focused on me being the best I can be because I can't control what other people are doing. And the more I help other people, then like it would suck to be on the sidelines at stage 1 hoping that all the other women do poorly,
right?
So that I can do the best. Whereas, like, if I
and that would probably reflect on your performance if that's what you're focusing on.
And then, but like, so if I had gone out early, and then had to pout and then see someone else do well that I didn't know, that would be very different from a situation where I go out early, and now my best friend is up, and she does well, and then I feel like I'm part of the victory.
Yeah. It's funny. I feel like I champion other people, except when people win the lottery. I don't feel very supportive of that. I feel very upset and very bitter.
It's funny because do you play the lottery?
I do play, but I do play the lottery.
I get upset too, but I don't play the lottery.
No, but I really do get very, very upset. That's probably the only thing. But I find that like I have, it's just what you said, like you're part of the team. Like I feel like it's my victory too, having nothing to do with it other than just being in someone's corner.
Yeah.
And there's it's so much pride in that. And I feel like
when one woman wins, we all win.
I feel like when one person, I mean, I obviously
know,
because but I just mean like in general, like I feel that way even with men, like anybody that I know, even when I watch basketball with my kid and I watch other games that have nothing to do with the kids that I know, I'm cheering. I mean, we watched volleyball last night and we were all we don't even know who we wanted to win, but you could feel the excitement. And I was just so proud because I know how hard it is to be disciplined and stay focused and to be achieving something that's important to you. So I'm a big commercials. I'm bawling all the time. Just I'm very supportive. Except for the lottery winner. Yeah,
except for the lottery winner.
Yeah.
I want to go back because in season, you mentioned pull-ups. In season 6, you could not compete because you were injured, right?
I blew out my knee, ACL, MCL, and meniscus.
Oh my gosh. So, I mean, that's
like an episode of Grey's Anatomy.
And that alone would kind of get some people to not want to compete again at all, because they would just let that keep them back. I read, and tell me if it's true, that you could do only like 3 pull-ups at that point.
I could do 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
What Wikipedia is wrong?
I should look at what it says on Wikipedia.
You could do 6 pull-ups.
I could do, at that time I could do 6 pull-ups, and most of my training was tons of different styles of martial arts, gymnastics, free running, a lot of things that involved pivoting. And even like the weapon stuff that I do, if my legs were sore, I'd be kneeling, but I can't do that on crutches.
Right.
Well, not with a knee injury. And so my life always revolves so much around goals and what I'm working towards. And normally if I have a little injury, I'm going to just study fight choreography, watch the videos, write down the moves, figure out combinations I like. But to do that for an entire year, because an ACL surgery is 10 to 12 months recovery, but people usually say it's about 15 to 16 months before you really feel 100%.
Right.
If you're doing the level of impact stuff that I do. And so I knew that I was going to need a completely new goal that didn't involve legs. And I had competed on season 5 of Ninja Warrior and I had a great time, but I knew that I didn't really have any grip strength, and it wasn't really, I couldn't expect to do well without building grip strength. And so it was kind of an obvious choice for me of what am I going to devote my life to for the next year while I can't do what I usually do and love.
Right.
And so I was like, all right, grip strength it is. So I just had a workout regimen where it was like push day, pull day, physical therapy, constly.
Vomit day. That's me.
That's
Vomit minute. Yeah.
No, that's not healthy.
So, you can actually use push and pull, other exercises to increase your strength to do the pull-ups then. You don't have to necessarily do pull-ups to increase your pull-ups.
There are variations like I do when you're newer at pull-ups. You do like negatives or assisted pull-ups.
I have my assist band upstairs.
Yeah, they're great. But doing pull-ups it seems like the simplest and most direct, straightforward thing to work on that translates very easily. And then the next thing is rock climbing, which is just more entertaining. You're still getting the pull, you're working the tiny grip strength muscles, and that's the real one I was missing, because there had been periods of time earlier in my life, like in gymnastics, where I could do a lot more pull-ups, but those muscles were not in shape when I had my knee surgery.
I didn't know about finger strength until I started watching Ninja Warrior.
Yeah, neither did
seriously,
I.
I'm like, there's little tips of your fingers. They actually have muscles in there. Like,
yeah, no, and I because they had the cliffhanger in season 5 finals, and I was looking at all the obstacles, trying to figure out where I was going to have trouble. And at the time, like, I just had an ankle surgery too, so I wasn't sure if I'd be able to do the warped wall. But I saw the cliffhanger and was just like, is that possible? Like, is this the thing that people can do? And when they did, I was like, oh, okay, well, if it's possible, I guess I can do it. And so I went and tried and was like, nope, not at all.
No, I can't.
I was wrong. But that's what I love about Ninja Warrior and stunts and all these things. You get to find these challenges and see where your weaknesses are and be like, oh, okay, well, if like someone else who had trained this, if they were getting chased, they could literally climb a brick wall with the finger strength.
Right.
Like, and I can't do that. Well, I want to be able to do it. And so it's always just finding these different challenges and figuring out how to crush all those little weaknesses.
Right. How has that changed how you get jobs? I mean, it clearly, I would think that being such an amazing competitor in Ninja Warrior, that the stunt jobs are even more fruitful.
You know, interestingly enough, it seems to have kind of balanced. Like, I think there are some coordinators who have hired me since Ninja Warrior who just didn't know me before. And there's others who are like, well, you're too muscular now. You're not a good double for certain actresses. So it kind of evens out. But then in stunts, it's very much like who's in front of your face right now. And so if I'm not in there networking constantly, you know, it's easy for them to assume, oh, she's busy doing Ninja Warrior, which actually only takes up about 9 days of the year. So
wait, so the whole thing is within 9 days?
For any competitor. Because they shoot for 2 days in each city, and you're only going to compete in one of the cities.
Okay,
and then
so not 9 consecutive days necessarily, but 9 days.
You're going to do qualifiers and finals in one weekend.
Okay.
So that's 2 nights. And then if you qualify for Vegas, you're going to go out and have 2 to 3 days of interviews. Stage 1, a lot of people go home right after stage 1. And then stage 2, 3, 4 would be the next night. And then they have special episodes that if you're lucky or you do really well, then you get picked for maybe the All-Star, the Skills Challenge, or, you know, the top 5 will get picked for USA versus the world. And so that ends up being about a week.
Wow. And that airs later on in the season.
We never know. They're kind of, they fill them in scheduling gaps. So I think last year it was like New Year's Eve and then May, right before the next season started.
Okay.
So we never know.
Yeah. They're getting those ratings bumps throughout the year.
I don't want to say beyond Ninja Warrior, but before Ninja Warrior, did I remember reading that you went to Georgia Tech? Where did you go to school?
My first year of college, I went to Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
Majored in aerospace engineering because I thought maybe I'd like to be an astronaut. But I hadn't really researched it all the way. It was
the whole space thing threw you for a loop. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's one of the only times in my life that I really gave in to fitting in the box. Like, I was stuck in school. I hated it. I was miserable sitting in school, but I had to be there and I didn't want to waste the time. And so I was like, well, if I have to be here learning, what can I apply this to that will make me feel like it's worthwhile? And I was like, you know, floating in space sounds like a really cool thing. And I'm doing okay in science and math, so I'll just make this goal. I'll be an astronaut, and then I'll be more motivated to work hard and learn more effectively. And it worked really well. I got straight A's from like 7th grade all the way through college. And but it was when I got a whole week ahead on my Calculus 3 homework because I was avoiding my aerospace engineering homework because I just did not find it interesting. It was building airplanes, and that's when I realized, like, there's a lot more to being an astronaut than floating in space, which should have been a very obvious thing. It's just that I was kind of blinding myself to fit inside this box of you go to school, you go to college, you get a job. And I think it's an amazing career for someone who's passionate about it, but it's such a hard thing that I don't think you can make it all the way without having the passion for the science of it.
Right.
And while it's something that I find interesting, like if someone were talking about how to grow plants on Mars and stuff, that's great, but I don't have the passion for it to get really good at it.
Right. So it's interesting because I think there's a misconception that people that are athletic are like meatheads, you know? And so, what is happening? Jackie's. Oh, sorry. That, you know, so to know that you have this background and how smart you are, is that a misconception people have had about you, that you're just this pretty blonde who happens to be able to weight lift a lot or do high kicks or whatever? I mean, has that happened?
I don't know. I guess I don't pay that much attention to people's perception of me.
Yeah.
I kind of do what I think is right regardless. Some of the football players at the University of Nebraska used to call me a meathead because I spent so much time in the weight room. And I always thought that was pretty funny, but I'd also, you know,
they were secretly jealous, right? That you could bench press more than them.
I was beating their numbers in like core workouts and stuff. But I would always, like, I had my anatomy class, which was one of the hardest classes I've ever taken, because we had to learn like the origin, insertion, nerve innervation, action of every muscle, like everywhere. There's like 19 muscles in the forearms, and I could name all of them. And so I had all these flashcards that I'd made, and I would study them while I was doing my warm up on the elliptical.
Right.
And so it was like, you know, I squeeze in work and studying in between sets. If I know that I have a minute and a half between sets on the bench press, well, I've got something to study, whether it's answering emails or like writing out interview answers or something.
Right.
Like you have to make use of your time, because I mean, I can't spend 2 hours doing a weight workout and then go spend 2 hours writing answers.
Where did this drive come from? Did you always, was it always self-driven, or was your mom like hard on you, like you gotta do these things? Or
no,
like...
both of my parents were very much like, find what you love and do it. But I probably picked up a lot of my mom's energy. She's the same way. Like, she retired from radio about 2 years ago and immediately like got new headshots, signed up for a couple different acting classes, got an agent, learned how to video edit so she could self-tape, learned how to do her lighting, got her backdrops. Like, it was just like, I think we're both just very inspired by goals and action.
And when you're raised like that, you know, she was leading you as opposed to dictating how you would live your life.
Yeah,
which I think is different when it comes to parenting.
Yeah, it's like when you have downtime, it's like, great, we get to go plant a new garden and build these new like rock walls around the edge of it, and ooh, it's painting day, we get to go on the roof and paint them. Like, that was my favorite, when I got to clean the gutters, because I wasn't allowed on the roof unless we were painting or cleaning gutters. And so we just made everything fun.
Stay with us. We'll be right back with more from American Ninja Warrior's Jessie Graff.
Connect with the Broads on Facebook at facebook.com/broadscast.
Welcome back to Broadscast. We are here today with Jessie Graff from American Ninja Warrior. I'm fangirling, as we've already established. But hey, have you guys heard about our new obsession here at Broadscast? Kim, you have. You're part of it.
I am. I'm part of the Blue Apron Nation. Yeah.
Ban. Well, I guess you don't want to say ban, but I am digging it on my Friday deliveries. It's like Christmas. I open the box and pull out and see what we have. Like, even though you know, and you could choose, and you know what to get, what not to get, and some of the things that you like. It's so surprising and exciting. And
I feel like it puts a spin on like the normal things that I cook. And so for me, like, it's a departure from the normal lemon chicken. You know, I get to create new fascinating things, and my kid gets to participate, and that's half the fun right there. And then he gets to see what he's eating, and he loves it. So big high five to Blue Apron.
Seriously. And I love the fact that, you know, it will come with all this fresh produce, and I will, you know, it'll be in the recipes, but you know, I don't know about anybody else's kids, but my kids don't love to know that they're eating vegetables. And so, but they don't even notice, like in the sauces or this chicken thing I made, this like amazing roasted chicken with teriyaki vegetables last week. And there's just lots of amazing fresh ingredients. And I mean, their whole mission is to make incredible home cooking accessible to everyone. And I think that they're kind of hitting it out of the park.
Well, I love the fact that I get these like the fresh vegetables, which forces me to use them quickly, because normally when I buy them, they just get gross in my pantry. I mean, in my refrigerator. But now that I have the recipes and it's coming to me, and I know that there's an expectation for me to cook, none of my food goes to waste, which is that was a surprise to me. So
yeah, the portions, it's crazy. They're like actual, like what you'll use as opposed to what you buy at the store. But did you know that research actually shows that Blue Apron families cook nearly 3 times more often? So
well, I am one of those families. I was not asked to participate in that survey, but I'm volunteering that I too I am cooking more. So
yeah, so that's exciting. So if you guys would like to get 3 free meals plus free shipping, head over to blueapron.com/broads. Because I mean, seriously, that's and Kim, you got the meals for 2, right? So 3 meals, that's almost 2 days worth of of food.
Yeah, we are full. I have plenty of room for more, but we were full and happy. So
yeah, and you know what's funny? You know what's funny is that people have asked me like, oh, if I get it for a family of 4, is there going to be enough food? I have big eaters, and I have a family of 5, and we get the box for family of 4, and we've never had a problem. We actually have leftovers, and we're pretty, significant eaters. So blueapron.com/broadscast. Check it out. We'll be right back.
Subscribe to Broadscast on iTunes.
Welcome back to Broadscast. We're here with Jessie Graff from American Ninja Warrior, Kim Goldman, Jackie McDougall.
Samuel the Hog.
Hog.
I said Samuel the Hog over Jackie McDougall. Yeah, what was I thinking?
Potato, I think that, Kim and I, growing up in the 80s, I know you were born in the 80s, yeah. That it was always, it started with the aerobics, right, Kim? Like the leg warmers and but we were always taught to go work out. Mm-hmm. It was like you go to the gym or you go to a class, you go to Zumba. Like even now, it's just and for you, I think what's so inspiring is that you don't. I mean, sure, you probably work out and do sets and reps and all that stuff, but it's all for a goal to reach a new.
It
height.
keeps it so much more fun and inspiring. And I hear people ask, like, how do you stay motivated? And if you're working towards having your body look a certain way, the closer you get to it, the less motivated you're going to be because you have less work to do. But if your goal is something like, I want to be able to do a 36-inch vertical jump, I want to be able to jump on top of this box, or I want to be able to climb this different level, or if I fell off a cliff, I want to have the strength to pull myself back up over the ledge. Things like that are so much more fun and exciting. And if you take that as like the thing you're passionate about and say, okay, in order to do that, here's the exercise that I have to do. Then as you're doing that exercise, you're inspired toward that goal. And as you get closer to it, if you get your 36-inch vertical jump, it's healthy to say, okay, well, I want a 40-inch vertical jump versus if you're like, okay, here's my goal weight. Great, I reached it. Now let's lose another 20 pounds. That's not necessarily a healthy thing.
Right. So, and I think there are little goals. Like if you take, your success obviously is extraordinary compared to your average woman and what we're doing in our daily life as far as physical fitness. So if you take like what I think you can scale it down. You could scale, like if you're in the pool, and I know for me, trying to get out of the pool, without using the stairs, when you just push up and like you see some people and they push up and their leg goes up and they just hop out and they walk away. Like using little...
I'm the girl that slides like back
that.
In. Yeah.
Help me! No, but you do the thing and then I'm on my stomach and then I have to flip my legs over.
The walrus getting out. Yeah, it's not pretty.
Yeah,
that's a great goal. I love that.
But just little things like that, I just think that is at least for me, would make me more likely to work out toward a goal like that.
Yeah. Jackie's very humble. Her whole family, they're all martial arts.
Oh, cool.
I mean, everybody has a black belt.
There are 5. I have 3 kids and my husband and myself. 4 of us have black belts, and 1 is working toward his.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's kind of amazing. Jackie, she poo-poos the fact that she's a 45-year-old woman, and that, I just have my measly old black belt.
I said, well, if I got a black belt, how hard is it then? Like, do you ever feel that way? Like, I would think the black belt looked imagine getting a black belt. And then I worked really, really hard for, a few years and I got it. And I'm like, if I can get a black belt, how hard can it really be? Like I kind of downplay that. But the thing is, and I realize when you get a black belt, that's really the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not the end, it's the beginning. Now
there's 80 different levels of black belt.
There are, but the color belts are really like, to get to the black belt is saying I did not give up. Like I've challenged myself. But now it's like
you've
now
learned
I can push myself.
You now have all the tools or all the skills that you need. Now you start learning how to apply them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I'm excited for that because then you can actually improve.
Well, and one of the things, Jackie always posts pictures of all the successes of her kids, and you always do the hashtag, the family that kicks together.
Sticks together.
Yeah.
So cute.
So, and Jackie has tried very hard to get me to come. I don't have any discipline. But I think that it does take a certain kind of person to stick to something and to have that goal. I think that we forget that baby steps and little goals are good too. I think we try to set ourselves so high that it's unmanageable and it's like too big,
I think it's nice to have those huge goals as something in the distance, but you also have to have the little steps because I get so excited anytime I beat a record. And so it a lot of people are always complimenting me on my pull-up records. Like when I beat a pull-up record, it's very unusual for a woman to be able to do 30 strict form pull-ups, and I get a ton of feedback. But I apply the same thing to every kind of workout I do, even the ones that I am horrible at. Like distance running, like I posted the same thing. I was so excited because for the first time ever, I got under 7.5 minutes on a mile.
Wow.
And I was like, my goal is to get under 7 minutes. And I had like...
And people are probably like, what?
I had like... As opposed to most of my things where I'm getting like thousands of likes and comments, I got 7 likes and 2 comments, both of which were, you need to set higher goals. I just don't post about my mile times anymore. But I think it's important for people to understand that like you're not going to be good at everything. And that doesn't mean you can't practice everything.
Right.
It's just, I know that that's not one of my strengths, and it's something I want to be better at. And so I'm working on it, and I get really excited every time I make a little step forward.
So I know this is going to sound terrible based on everything you're saying, but like, do you ever get exhausted being you? And I know, and let me say that and then say, because you're always working hard and you're so disciplined and you're so diligent. Do you ever just go, God, not today. Like, this is a hard life I've chosen to live. I don't mean, I mean no, in the best way.
So the part that's really hard for me, because like you can hear how inspired I get about that. So if I have a day where I don't get to break a record, then I'm like, oh man, what am I going to do today? What have you done for me lately? It's like, well, what did you even do today? So it's like,
are you hard on yourself when you don't have something big to do?
I've learned much more positive self-talk, so I'm not like yelling at myself for not doing anything impressive, but at the same time I don't have that rush of endorphins or adrenaline, and so it takes a ton of discipline for me to be like, no, like you got to do exciting hard workouts all week, and today you just don't get to. Like you have to be disciplined enough to hang out, like do your computer work, foam roll, stretch. You don't get to like have a really hard workout. You don't get that endorphin rush. And it is so hard for me. Like it's painful.
Really?
And so when people tell me I'm disciplined, if I look at my behavior, you know, even last year, like it wasn't discipline. It's more addiction. It's more addiction. Yeah. And so now it's like, I'm finally exercising the discipline to say, no, this, like, if you want to be the best athlete you can be, here's the appropriate amount of exercise. And I'm sorry if you think you should be doing more. If you want to be good, you just don't get to.
Right.
And so it's, that's where I have to exercise.
I'd like to be that just once, just for 1 minute.
I mean, so if you're just tuning in, this is Broadscast with Jackie McDougall and Kim Goldman, and Jessie Graff from Ninja Warrior is in the house. But like, do you ever just want to sit and just
have you ever
watch
seen a movie or watch a
like
TV
do you
show?
ever just sit like yes
well
I had a glass of wine
that doesn't involve how to train your body better.
We're just playing.
I do watch marathons on Netflix all the time.
Oh yeah,
usually while I'm stretching, foam rolling, or working out in the living room.
Multitasking.
No, and it was actually after Vegas, I intentionally took a week of just like letting my shoulders recover and not, occasionally doing like a light bike ride or something. And at the end of that week, when I still felt like doing nothing, I found it very disturbing. Like the fact that I would still not feel like doing something was very worrisome to me.
Yeah.
And it's just, I was more tired than I thought, and I didn't like that. So it's just...
And you don't take that as a sign that your body just needs a little bit more rest?
That's what I have to evaluate, because sometimes sluggish and just like, oh, I've had some time off and I don't feel like getting started again feels very similar to I'm legitimately exhausted and I need to rest more. And so understanding the difference between that is very challenging. And I found that if I just do like 2-minute cardio, like jump rope or something, I will know after that whether it's sluggishness or actual tiredness. Because if it's just sluggishness, getting that sweat going, getting the endorphins, I will feel just like wired and be like, okay, now I'm going to go do things. And if I don't feel that way after 2 minutes of jump rope, I'm probably really tired.
Right.
And
does your social life, the people that you surround yourself with, are they like you or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And we all congratulate each other when we do a rest day. Like if someone leaves the workout early and is like, you know what, I'm just really sore, I'm going to go home and take an ice bath. We're like, what? Good job. Whoa. Like we get really impressed when someone is able to take a step back.
So are you training with the same people that are on the show often, like throughout the year?
Not that often. There's a bunch of LA local ninja people, and we train at Arnold's house sometimes. They're pretty consistent. They'll go once or twice a week, and there's a lot of workouts at Muscle Beach.
I totally went to Arnold Schwarzenegger in my head. I was like, wait, what?
I know, I haven't met him.
I know. I was like, that's the kid one, right? Because that's how you and I first started talking on Twitter.
Yes.
My daughter's going in October.
Oh, good.
To try it out. Yeah.
Oh, it's so much fun. I have no idea what I was saying.
But you were
Arnold's house on the beach.
working out with those people.
So I've found that most of the guys who compete on Ninja Warrior are able to build their strength just by playing on obstacles. And for me, if I just do obstacles, and same thing with stunts, if I'm just doing all my fun, high impact technical skills, I'm not building the strength to maintain it and to stay healthy. And so I'll do more stunt technical skills, but when it comes to ninja training, I'm maybe doing obstacles once a month.
Okay.
It's mostly straightforward strength training, injury prevention, and I typically adapt to the obstacles pretty well once I see them. Mm-hmm. So I don't need as much technical, high impact practice. It's really just
well, clearly it's working for
muscle.
you.
Thank you. But yeah, I do feel that I've actually built the strength faster than the guys who are out there playing.
Right.
And I think when you're used to building muscle that easily, you feel like you don't have to be as scientific about it. And I have always felt, I know that I have less testosterone than the guys do. Mm-hmm. I know that it's going to be harder to build the muscle. And so I have to be smarter about it and plan out my scheduled days and be like, okay, it's push day, then pull day, then leg day. And you can't do 2 in a row or I can, but I'm not going to get the maximum strength gain from rock climbing 2 days in a row. Whereas if I just do one really hard day and give my muscle group 2 days to rest,
right,
then I'm going to get stronger faster. And that's where the discipline comes in.
Right.
Oh, good Lord.
Wow. So, so what if you're not working out or you're not training, what do you like to do for fun? Or is that your fun?
That is my fun. It's so much fun that what can compare to it almost? But
do you like to travel, and have opportunities to do other things like travel?
I've been really lucky with travel. I've had so much stuff, whether it's for work or competing in college. Like I've gotten to go to a lot of places around the world where someone flies me there and I'm working and I get to do some exploring in the meantime. I did take 2 trips on my own, one to the Philippines and one to Thailand, where I just was like, you know what? Going to Thailand, bought a ticket, left the next day, and found a Muay Thai place to train and just learned Muay Thai for like a month and did some jungle survival training and just like followed whoever I was hanging out with. It was a crazy adventure. It was so much fun.
Wow.
But for the most part, my travel is work related.
And you're still doing a lot of stunt work that, obviously keeps you busy as well. How do you manage that? So like, what if you get an offer for where's the priority as far as like the stunt job?
It's constantly changing.
Yeah. I was reading that you obviously are looking for more playing your own role and doing your own stunts. And so if something like that happens, unfortunately, you wouldn't be able to do Ninja Warrior at the same time if it happened, during those 9 days.
Yeah. It all depends. I think I would try to work out a way to do Ninja Warrior. It frequently happens on a weekend. And then, if I was shooting a movie while they were doing LA qualifiers, I could probably ask them if I could compete in a different region. And one of the regions is going to happen on a weekend.
Right.
And so, I'd still have to travel
so
myself
there's some
there. There is some flexibility. Working on a movie with like Jackie Chan and Sammo Hung, that's my lifetime dream. There's nothing would take priority over that. Starring in an action movie would take priority. But again, there's frequently flexibility in schedules. No movie is going to have a 7-day-a-week schedule.
Right. And do you know far in advance when they're going to have the next qualifiers in the cities, or do you find out like a month before, or are you able to plan?
You can you can find the answer to that before they even tell the competitors on oncameraaudiences.com.
Oh, yeah.
And you search Ninja Warrior, and that'll usually have the cities and the dates. And it's sometimes flexible, like it'll change occasionally.
So the audience knows before the competitors do.
Anyone who looks at that website knows.
Right.
So that's where I look to find out.
That's so funny.
Yeah. But I mean, movie schedules are always so last minute and constantly shifting that knowing things ahead of time rarely does me any good.
Yeah. Well, and it's a quality problem if you have to figure out how to make both happen.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I'm lucky. Most of my problems are related to trying to figure out how to squeeze in amazing opportunities, and that's stressful but a good stress. So.
Right. Wow.
So I saw this incredible picture of you in this long gown.
I mean, the world.
I know.
The
but,
Emmys last, Sunday night.
I mean, but the best thing for me, and then I wondered how you felt about it. But when the picture of you doing the high kick, like, did you part of you like, can I please just be a girl today? No. Or were you like, let me kick?
I was so nervous all week because it was a producer at NBC who invited me as his guest, and I respect him so much and I appreciated being invited. And so I told him, listen, my tendency is going to be to kick and flip, and I want to be respectful. This is a very nice event. If you don't want me to do those things, I just need you to tell me what you would consider inappropriate, because I will respect that.
Right.
And so going into it, I was like, I did some research. I didn't want to, make the network look bad.
Right.
It's funny.
And I was like, okay, how does one stand in a dress? What's appropriate? And like, I have a publicist now, and they got me a stylist, and he was amazing. And I was like,
you look
whatever I wear.
Stunning. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Because I have no idea how to pick clothes. It's not my thing. I'm shorts and a sports bra, maybe a super skirt. Yeah. And so I was just like, you just tell me what to wear. I'll put it on. Here are my requirements. I must have range of motion to kick over my head. I refuse to be
restricted
in something that doesn't let me move, unless the skirt is so tight that I can do flips and it doesn't move, which is still not preferable because the flowy skirt.
Do you just anticipate needing to do backflips wherever you go? I mean,
I think it would be irresponsible of me to ever go somewhere without being prepared for backflips. Right. It's not a realistic expectation.
And so you always have, whenever you wear a skirt or a dress,
I'm currently wearing shorts under my skirt. It's just even if you're not going upside down, you could walk over grates, a huge gust of wind. Like, you want to be appropriate. And
Etiquette by Jessie Graff.
So that was just like, that's my one requirement. I was like, I don't really have preferences about color, cut, like how things were, as long as I can move. That's my one concern.
Yeah.
So how did that moment happen with the backflip?
Oh, that was hilarious.
Oh, I didn't see the backflip. I only saw the high kick.
So yeah, I got the clear from Brandon. He was like, you know what? I think anything goes. Just be yourself, have fun. And I was so relieved that I could just go out there and be myself. Mm-hmm. I would do like one standing pose, and I was like, this is how we do it. This is what people do here. And I'm kicking.
Yeah.
Try to combine both.
And make sure nobody's on the other side.
Of course. Always make sure there's space. And that's something we learn in stunts. Like, you always want to protect everyone that's around you. You don't want to hurt anyone. Like, we know our spacing. And then it was the very last interview at the end of the carpet, and someone jokingly was just like, oh, can you do a backflip? And I had about 2 seconds where I processed, can I do a backflip in this? I don't know. Let's find out. And I do backflips in heels all the time. It's something that unfortunately we have to do at work.
Oh, right.
On a semi-regular basis.
Like not doing, I mean, stunts.
We have to do fights in heels all the time. And fights are actually harder than back handsprings in heels, in my opinion, because you're pivoting. Mm-hmm. And there's more balance. Whereas with heels, they're going to inhibit. You can't use your calves as much because you're already almost fully extended. Right. So it becomes just a quad push. But the last time I had to do a back handspring in heels, my quads were a lot weaker. And so I was like, I'm sure this will be fine. I wasn't sure where the skirt would go. But again, I had my shorts on and they matched the color of the dress perfectly. So there was really nothing to be worried about. It was just
it was like a work of art. I mean, you were, not only were you doing a backflip in heels, but like the way the gown just followed and flowed and landed. It was just...
And that's why I love that dress so much. Yeah. It's just, it moves, it flows, it complements movement. Because like, I can look at a dress and be like, yeah, that's pretty. But when it moves and I see how it like catches the wind or exaggerates the movement.
You're so funny that you look at a dress and wonder how you can flip, kick, twist, do acrobatics, and I'm like, can I zip it?
Yeah, I'm like, will you see my Spanx?
Yeah, will you see my lines? yeah.
Also valid concerns.
No, but I think it's really good, and I mean, it's fun to talk about because I think you open women's minds and girls especially, you know, to like, hey, maybe I'm looking at this in a way that's not as productive or as fun. So, I mean, you've had a huge response from young girls. I see people tweeting at you all the time with little girls, like little Jessie Graff.
I tweeted at her.
The cutest.
Pictures and videos. And how do you feel about being that role model for them?
It's amazing for me. I mean, just I remember when I was a kid, not having that many friends, like girlfriends, who would be able to keep up on the playground, who wanted to play the same kind of games as me, who, you know, if I were like, hey, let's go climb trees, they'd kind of look at the first branch and be like, I don't know. And so to see so many kids getting involved and getting stronger and healthier and wanting to just do more things and follow their passions. And I even had one girl who was like, I've always loved gymnastics and swimming and doing all these things, but I was afraid my friends would make fun of me for having muscles. Wow. But now I'm not afraid. And like to be able to share that with them and free people up to follow what they want to do is the craziest. Like I never thought I would be able to have that kind of impact.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember being a little isolated by the fact that I had different hobbies, and I love seeing those hobbies become more mainstream.
Yeah.
Right. Did you find growing up you had more male friends?
Actually, when I got into gymnastics, that's when I made my best friends, and we didn't have guys at
Do you
our
have siblings?
gymnastics team. I had a little brother. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have. He's bigger than me. So I guess that.
Is he competitive as well?
Not really. We're very opposite in a lot of ways. Like he's a cool character, but he's very like laid back and just like.
What does he think of all this attention?
I don't even know. He has a daughter now. She's 1.5, and he sends me pictures of her climbing the cabinets and doing stuff all the time.
It's in the DNA.
She's adorable. Yeah, she's so cute, and they put her in little tutus too.
Oh, that's awesome.
Do you have like goals for family later in your life? Is that important to you?
I think it would be really fun to have a kid.
Yeah,
probably just one. But I also think it's more important to me that if I'm a parent, I be a good and attentive parent than it is to be a parent, period. So I don't think I'm going to be mature enough. Like, I'm so focused on my own goals that I would not be a good parent right now.
Right.
And I would rather miss out on the opportunity to be a parent than risk being a bad parent. I want to fully enjoy that experience. So I'm estimating that I'll be ready for kids when I'm about 40. And that seems like a reasonable compromise. Initially, I said 70, but that doesn't seem like a realistic thing.
That might not be so good for the kid.
Probably not. So yeah, no, I'm estimating 40. And if I'm wrong, if it gets to be 45 and then I can't have kids, maybe I'll adopt, maybe not. But I'm going to have fun either way.
That's really incredible insight, to be honest with you, because there are lots of people that have children that probably should have waited until they were 70, until everything dried up. Yeah, I mean, I think that's unusual, and I don't know how old you are, but to have that.
She's 32. It's all over the web.
It is.
Oh, it is.
My mom always told me not to tell my age, and there's really no getting around it anymore.
I know, but
you know that IMDb, some actresses are actually suing IMDb and trying to get their ages off.
Yeah, because it's been restricting their roles.
Effort. Yeah.
Well, but it feels like it because it's keeping them from getting certain roles if people know their names. I mean, know their ages.
Yeah. No, and actually, I mean, even up to like last year or the year before, I would still have auditions for high school characters.
Well, you look so
young. Yeah.
And I have to say, one of my favorite things is when you hit your goal or you break a record or whatever it is, and you get down and you're like down on your knees, and you just look like a little girl who was just given the Christmas gift she always wanted. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely accurate.
It was just like all of the hard work and you know that, because in TV a lot of people put put this persona out there, and you don't really get to see them. And I feel like it's like the most raw, vulnerable place in your life. And I could totally be reading into it because, but you just look so happy.
Yeah, I think in sports a lot of the time we're taught to keep our emotions in more, and I think I've learned from watching other people that is not entertaining.
Right.
And also, I mean, in acting class I've learned to be so much more expressive and learned how much more that affects people. So I actually worked on allowing myself to be more expressive.
Right.
And I know that Ninja Warrior is a great place to let that flow.
But is there? So that's interesting because my son, he plays basketball, and Sam keeps everything close to the vest. He never like shows any emotion when he hits the three or like has a great play. There's absolutely nothing. You would have no idea that he was even like paying attention to what's going on. And I've taught him from no gloating. Like we don't brag, we don't gloat. But now I want him to like, I want there like to be like a little moment of like, I did that, and maybe inside he is. But is there a balance with how you can maintain your composure and be proud of yourself and have that expression? Like, how do you? Because I feel like when I watch people, there's players like that I watch that dance and I'm so grossed out by it
in the end zone. Yeah, and it's a little.
And
much.
I don't like that, but I also appreciate that like you accomplished it. Like, how do you?
Well, I think it's really like expressing what you're actually feeling, and if what you're actually feeling is joy that you have beaten other people and that you won and they lost, it's probably going to come off very arrogant and annoyingly.
Yeah.
And if you are just so thrilled that you accomplished something you didn't know you could do, I think that's going to come off in a very positive way.
Yeah.
Right. Because people are excited for you when you're trying to just be your best self.
I mean, I remember there was a kid on Sam's team that he had been practicing for 2 years. He'd been on the team. He scored his very first basket, and there was no emotion on him. All of us were like, yeah, 'cause we knew it was his first basket, and he was just like, I don't know if he was panicked or like
he probably
just
didn't realize
it, but
know what to do with it.
So in the zone, but like I watch sports a lot, so I'm always paying attention to that. But I'm really trying to teach my son good sportsmanship, and so the fact that you say that like if you're happy that you've beat someone, I think you're so right on that there's such a different feeling, and I don't want that to happen to him. Like I don't want him to be that, but I want him to be able to express his own like accomplishment. And I think you said you were taught to keep that stuff inside, and that's interesting. I'm going to have to pay attention to that with him.
Yeah.
I actually got put on probation as a theater major in college because they said I was too, like they specifically said, from sports, you've been taught to hold your emotions in and everything you do is so rehearsed and planned and it doesn't feel real. And so it was this huge process for me of learning like, oh, what am I really feeling? And like getting in touch with that and then allowing it to show. And then like having that get messy and being like, okay, well, I want to be able to express my emotions, but now is a really inconvenient time to do that.
Right.
How do you manage that? And like, it was such an interesting process. Acting classes are like the best.
It's interesting.
Like therapy, right?
It's interesting. Well, speaking of therapy, it's interesting because I was a psych major, and so my professors always told me that I was too vulnerable, I was too soft, that I needed to have thicker skin and become more stoic, and so I had to learn how to shut down. And so Jackie always points out, not negatively, but like I keep a lot of things close to the vest too, and I'm wondering if it's because I was taught for so long that when I'm doing therapeutic sessions or I'm counseling that I have to keep a straight face, and I'm learning that's not good either. And so I'm wondering if that kind of, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe that spills over into why I don't really show a lot of excitement, because I've been trained that I have to keep it inside. I don't know.
Right. I think the goal is always to make it a choice, not a habit, so that if you're in, because I think if you're in like military or like cop situations or something, there are a lot of situations where you don't want to show how you're feeling, and it's probably not healthy or appropriate in certain situations, and you want to have the emotional control to save it for later and then go home and be like, oh my gosh, I felt this way about this thing, and and then process the feelings and everything. But
wow. So we have to go, which makes me very sad because I'd love to do 3 shows, but before we go, so you are so great at setting goals. So if there was somebody out there listening who, whether it's a physical goal, a career goal, a life goal, how could they go from like 0 to like hero where you are, but I mean, how How do you set them and how do you achieve them?
Well, again, I use the 0 to hero. I use the hero goal as like that carrot in the distance that keeps me inspired about improving. But then every goal is really just beat the last goal. So if you are literally at 0, and I'm going to just use hanging on the cliffhanger as an example, because that's one that I worked through. Like I was like, all right, let's see how this works. Hung on it, fell off after 1.5 seconds. So next time the goal is 2 seconds. I used to break it down into, okay, if I want to do the goal by this time, it's going to, like, this is how much I have to do. But if it's a really high goal, then that may or may not be realistic. And you want to get the best that you're capable of. And so I focus it on beating my last goal. And if the first time I get 1.5 seconds and the next time at 2 seconds, I feel like I can keep going, I'm going to keep going because I want to get my best. And then the next time I'm going to try to beat that. So it's just constantly improving.
It seems like you're able to celebrate when you hit a new goal, but yet keep the next goal in the distance.
I think it's funny. People always talk about like, how do you reward yourself when you beat a goal? And I think I love goals so much that the chance to create a new, even better goal that's more exciting is kind of like a reward for me.
Right.
It's like, oh my gosh, you just got 28 pull-ups. Now you get to try 29 next week.
Right.
And I love that personally, just because I think seeing the self progress and the growth it builds so much self-confidence.
Well, and I've listened to you a lot, specifically the difference that you have between have to and get to. And I think,
yes.
Everything that you've said is I get to. And I think that if we get ourselves out of that have to place and into the I get to,
my gosh, it makes such a difference.
Such a clears some of the obstacles in front of us. So
same thing with healthy eating.
Yeah.
Like I always try to define it as I get to. Like how do I get to make myself stronger and healthier with this meal versus you're not allowed to have this or you have to have this.
So,
right, strength
okay,
based.
What do you eat? Because people want to know this.
Right. No, I get that a lot. I eat a meal every 3 to 5 hours ish. And I'd make sure I define the meal kind of by what protein am I having. I want to make sure I get 1 to 2 servings of protein so I can build and maintain my muscles. I'm going to get as many vegetables as I can because they're packed with nutrients. So I usually go for like dark greens, spinach, kale, and I'll just have a huge bowl of spinach and kale and then put the whole meal on top of it. So if it's chicken or fish, salmon, like I'm just going to put it on top of the salad and then what's the carb? I'm going to have 1 serving of carbs. So aim for the whole grains if possible. Like if you can get quinoa or something, then that's extra healthy. And then you have to have your healthy fats. So like if it's fish, you already have fish oil, but avocado is great for you. So I try to look at like what's the healthiest thing I could have or, what's close to the healthiest but tastes a little better.
Do you have one splurge? One thing ever?
I hate that question. Sorry. It's okay. It's okay.
Wasabi flavored seaweed. Okay.
It's like my policy on desserts is if something is in front of me and it doesn't have like seriously detrimental chemicals and I'm craving it like crazy, I feel like it's emotionally healthier to not put forth like this crazy effort to restrict myself and say, no, you're not allowed to have that. Like, I'm going to stay much more balanced if I say, okay, for some reason, this dessert is calling to me. I'm going to have a little bit and move on with my life.
Yeah.
If I am in my own controlled environment, then instead of ice cream, I'm going to have plain Greek yogurt with chocolate chips, like dark chocolate chips.
Yeah.
Or, frozen yogurt's not that good. Most of the time it has corn syrup. So I'll try to choose a place that doesn't have corn syrup, that has like natural sugars. Or like I love protein cookies and like I have these protein bars that taste like candy, like the Be Up bars. Yeah. They're high protein, high fiber. So I look for all those things that satisfy me or feel like I'm having a treat, but are packed with nutrients. Right. And then like my favorite salad has like dried cranberries and walnuts and Greek yogurt again. So it's like a really sweet salad, but it's packed with nutrients. So it's like, how can I combine the healthiest things possible? And like kale is the most bitter, like it's awful.
Yeah.
But if you put dried cranberries and fresh blueberries and Greek yogurt and mix in like a little chocolate protein shake, like it feels like dessert.
Oh.
Yeah, I like to put kales in my protein shakes and kale in there because I don't know what's there.
Right. You just mix as many nutrients as you can.
Yeah. Well, we really appreciate your being on. And like I said, we went over, and that's okay because we're on broadscast.com or iTunes. You can subscribe. And Jessie Graff, thank you so much for being in the studio.
You guys asked great questions.
Oh, good.
Thank you. And we'll talk to you next time.
Bye. Peace out.
You are listening to Broadscast. For more from the Broads, head to broadscast.com.